technology. So today I'm here to show you my technological gadgets, and I don't care about my own lifespan, not about the animals. Who cares if the animals die? Who cares if all the birds get extinguished in the whole world? Who cares if every single species gets destroyed? It's only me and the phone. That's it. So here's my smart pad. Everything's linked with my brain, so what's the use of anything else? I'm experiencing everything now. Ha ha ha. So I don't care for anybody. I don't care about the fools who talk about environmental hazards, nor about human health. I don't care about my health too. So this is my life. Oh my god. Help me out. So basically the Jai Shri Ramachandra, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Narasimha. So today I would like to tell you about 5G and its dangerous frequencies that can spoil our health and the environment around us and destroy the trees, the plants and the birds and the whole ecosphere, and cause a lot of damage and heat up the environment around us and create a more severe global warming condition. Whether global warming is believed or not, we're going to have a warm sensation everywhere around us, and not only that, we're going to be cooked from inside out and we're going to be destroyed. I'm going to explain this with the help of the video by Dr. Barry Trower, an interview of Dr. Barry Trower and Sir Julian Rose. The link will be provided below and you can see that video. So I have tried to make a graphical representation of his video, and I shall also try to come up with my own research on this particular topic on 5G and when it's coming in India, and trying to bring you out some more information. Today we are going to make a graphical representation of Dr. Barry Trower's video, and what he has spoken is a lot of very useful information, and I try to make it little bit easier by converting it into a graphical representation. And here I have made 3 charts with this. So let's begin. Actually 5G in India is going to come 2021 or 2022, most likely 2022, and the Indian companies are just racing forward to get into 5G chain, like China, Japan and South Korea and the USA. So all different types of countries are trying to get into this race, except 58% of the planet is out of the race. They want to take safety measures against 5G because there are a lot of problems with 5G, and the FCC guidelines etc. are really being very lenient, and we are getting very dangerous frequencies in our area. 4G, 2G and 3G are all dangerous. 2G is very less dangerous, 3G is dangerous, and 4G is almost equal to the new 5G that we are going to have. It's going to be operating around 3.5 gigahertz to around 6 gigahertz. Just a second. It's going to be operating around 3.5 gigahertz to around 6 gigahertz, and along with that it might be able to operate even from 600 megahertz, which is the operating frequency of 4G. So we're going to have this kind of very powerful internet speed in 5G, and India actually, according to newspapers and data, does not need 5G. So why are they actually doing this 5G hangama? Because Indian people do not need 5G basically. We're not doing this smart driving of cars. 90% of the population is not using smart driving. 90% of the population doesn't want 500 Mbps network data. They're not going to upload millions of videos a day. And so basically the Indian market does not need 5G. But still, why are they racing forward with the rest of the world trying to implement 5G? Basically, I feel it's an agenda for population control. And even if you don't take it that way, I'm going to explain to you whether it's an agenda or not, it's dangerous. So you might take it as an agenda or not, but it's surely dangerous. And if somebody wants to do something dangerous to the public, it might surely be an agenda or maybe just a mistake. With a host of scientists, can that kind of a 5G thing become a mistake? When a child can understand that 5G is dangerous, how can many big scientists say that 5G is not dangerous. It's basically a lie, or all the scientists are foolish. I don't think the second thing is true. So here we have 5G, and actually it is a weapon that is being used against people, and it's being used for crowd control. So basically, when people just gather up in different numbers, big numbers, and try to rebel against the police or the government, etc., the police releases a weapon called Groma. I actually am not very sure about the pronunciation and the keywords of this word Groma, but it's pronounced that way by Dr. Barry Trova, so I understand very well. So that it's basically a weapon that operates around 90 gigahertz. That's a very high frequency, whereas the highest frequency that's going to be implemented when the millimeter wave frequencies come is around 40 gigahertz medium, and then we have till 100 gigahertz. So around 2030 we'll be having this 100 gigahertz millimeter wave frequencies all around the world, and that's going to be extremely dangerous for people, because that's actually equal to the this weapon. This weapon operates at around 90 gigahertz, and that is really dangerous. And it is actually used for crowd control. It can make you nervous, it can make you commit suicides and non-neurological problems. So basically 5G will be given in low doses, and it's a very, very low frequency, and it will be actually destroying the body minute by minute. Well, whereas the Groma, which is of higher frequency, can destroy the body even quicker. 5G, which is 5G medium, is operating at around 78 gigahertz highest, and around 40 gigahertz middle, and now what they're going to release is going to be around 6 gigahertz. You won't find it that dangerous at the first shot of 5G, but when you keep using it for more than an hour or two, just like with 4G, you'll start feeling dizzy. Already people are complaining of dizziness and insomnia and many more problems when the 4G Wi-Fi is on, and I don't know what's going to happen when they get the 5G. It's going to be even more. It's going to be triple or 10 times more the trouble that people will experience. So every 1 or 2 hour of usage, if you sit with the 4G Wi-Fi, you can experience a lot of trouble, and if you sit with the 5G Wi-Fi, you'll experience 10 times the trouble that you are experiencing now. I should tell you now, because first, this weapon actually is almost equal to 5G. So that shows how powerful 5G is and how dangerous it could be. So can you say that the weapon is totally different and 5G is totally different? No, you're giving the same thing to people. It's basically the same frequency. You can't convert a frequency. It's basic science. Can you make one frequency good and bad? You can't do that. It's a frequency, it is radiating, it is troubling, and it is a problem. So whether you use it for a weapon or not, it is a weapon. And you can't give it to small children and pregnant women, etc., and tell them to use it safely, and it's all okay. So basically all countries, including the FCC guidelines, use a heat standard for the safety of microwaves, which I should explain after this. So they are very short frequencies, and they are also low frequencies, and it's around actually these cables will be placed 150 meters away, and already in various cities in the UK they've started using this 150 meter gap poles, which are underground inside potholes or something like that. So they're fixing it on lampposts or potholes or different manholes and different other places where they are without disturbing the traffic. They're trying to fix these things, and it's basically a pilot maneuver which will become fully successful by the time of 2020, when China, Japan and other leading countries will have 5G full-fledged. So basically you'll have one of these cables every 150 meters, and they'll be radiating so much of short frequencies, and basically what they want to do is they want to release satellites so that not a single inch is away from this millimeter wave frequency. That's going to be around 2035 or 2040. We'll have these millimeter wave frequencies. Every inch of Earth will be monitored and will be radiated by these frequencies. Basically, satellites are also very important for it, and that's why these governments, it looks like, why do they want to send 2.5 million, quarter a million, that is 250,000 satellites into the sky? So what are they still trying to see about the Earth? Are you not figuring out the earth is sphere, you got to know the earth is sphere, you got to know about meteorological things. Why do you want 2.5 lakh satellites hovering around the earth? Basically, it is to create a 5G network. That's the main purpose. Meteorological purposes are not that important because anyways, nobody is paying attention to astrological significations. So why do they basically want to know about each star's life and what on the moon and the earth? Why do they want to know so much? Okay, you have a few satellites. Why do you want to send 2.5 lakh satellites? I think it's an agenda, but you can feel free to how you use. Thirdly, one thing that I have found out is you can, I mean Dr. Badshaw's talked about this, you can't give a weapon to civilians, especially children and pregnant women, and also use the same thing, roundabout the same thing, in the war, as a crowd control, as a homological weapon. You can't do that. As a homicidal weapon, you can't use the same thing as two things and say the powers are different. You can't say that a weapon and a civilian thing is both the same. It's not like a knife, it's a frequency. So it's always bad. You can't think of how to use it in a good way. It's always bad. It's always bad for you. And the next thing is, the higher scale of the 5G is around 78 gigahertz maximum, and the 6G will make it, into terahertz, of course. Though it's a non-ionizing frequency. Some people have this thing. They have a thing like you have an ionizing frequency and a non-ionizing frequency. So ionizing frequencies are bad and non-ionizing frequencies are okay. But here, a few things has been explained by Dr. Barry Trower that even non-ionizing frequencies have certain problems, especially microwaves. And we should explain that too in this video. And the next thing is that it's actually a psychotronic weapon for children and pregnant women. They're releasing it so that the population gets reduced. So why are they saying it's absolutely safe? How can 5G be absolutely safe when it is used as a weapon also? I don't think it can be safe. Just to the difference of 20 or 30 gigahertz, it can't be a safe thing. It can't be a safe thing. Over here we have this long low dose. A short high dose is actually better than a long low dose. This is a long low dose basically of a shorter frequency. 4G is a short high dose. Certain other Wi-Fi frequencies are of a short high dose but of a higher frequency. But here we have a lower, we have a long low dose of 5G frequencies, which is extremely dangerous for us. And thirdly, what we're going to do with 5G is really dangerous. We are going to damage reproductive systems of people, and it is going to be an irreversible damage basically, because the uterus actually as an organ, it actually can absorb more than 20% of the total body moisture, microwaves. So 20% more of the total microwaves exposure or radiation is absorbed by the uterus because of its moisture content. And thirdly, it does not have certain immune components that fight against radiation. So it is secondly very vulnerable to radiations, microwave radiations, and that's the reason behind the problems like infertility and sterility, etc. regarding reproductive system. And the second thing is, in flat 3 generations, only 1 in 8 children will be born healthy. So from now, if 5G frequencies are adopted, that's around 2030, 2040, we'll have these millimeter wave frequencies that will operate at around 100 gigahertz, and that is more than the weapon that we talked about now. So now we have a weapon going around everywhere, unrestrained. So it sounds quite dangerous to me. I don't know how it is, how it sounds to you, friends, but it sounds really dangerous to me. The thing here is that we're going to see that insects will start leaving area, because insects have this cryptochrome pigment double electromagnetic navigation system, which Dr. Barry Shrava has also talked about in this video, and we should provide the link below. And basically, insects do not like microwaves. Insects do not like microwaves. Now you have the question that why do we need insects? Let them get lost. I don't like cockroaches, I don't like spiders, I don't like bees, I don't like any of them. Basically, 80% of your food comes from insects. Now, if you lose the insects, you have only 20% of what you have now. Are you okay eating around only 1/4 of your meal that you're having today? That's what will happen when there are no insects. It might sound absurd at the beginning, but it's really the truth. Because insects don't like microwaves, insects will die, insects will suffer, insects will leave area to protect themselves. So if you know a particular area is tsunami or flood prone, you will leave the area. In the same way, insects also do not like microwaves because of this navigation system that they have, and they escape. They don't like it, especially ants also. Bees, ants, everybody doesn't like it. Next we would have 5G as an environmental hazard. So those of you who really are sensitive with the environment, everybody is born to be like that because we are nurtured by Mother Earth and we should take care of her or there will be destruction for us. So I'm going to tell you about 5G as an environmental hazard now. Basically, trees do not like microwaves. Trees cannot withstand microwaves. Just like insects, trees also do not like microwaves. Nor does almost any useful being in the world like microwaves. There are few exceptions like virus and bacteria who also do not like microwaves, but they adapt quickly. So basically, such unnatural things are usually just thrusted away by natural beings like humans, animals, etc. But some foolish humans want to join with robots, they want to join with machinery, and of course you're going to cause ruin. That's a different topic altogether. That's about AI. But now we're talking about 5G as an environmental hazard, and that shows that none of the beings almost do not like 5G. None of the beings like 5G. So trees are not an exception. Trees are also included. Trees don't like 5G. They get sick. They are unable to perform their photosynthesis. This is all there in research. It's all documented. It's researched. And it's well known that trees do not like microwaves and they become sick over a period of time. This is just like if you are exposed to a high frequency of microwaves. Trees exposed to a high frequency of microwaves do not like it. And thirdly, you lose the fish from your area because 90% of fish is trees. According to Dr. Barry Trower, the dried leaves from the trees keep falling down, the waste of the trees keeps falling down, and manure gets collected and it goes into the water and then gets decomposed, and that starting the food chain becomes the food for fish and various other animals and insects and microorganisms inside the water. And if you interrupt the trees, you're interrupting almost the whole Abhigya, stop making noise. You'll be interrupting almost the whole food chain and the ecosystem. You'll be interrupting the harmony of the world. So already trees actually interrupt millimeter wave frequencies. So if you're having small towers everywhere, small boxes like this or something like that, which are radiating millimeter wave frequencies, even a small tree can block it, a person can block it. So what they're going to do is, if you want to operate millimeter wave frequencies, you have to kill people, you have to kick them out of the place and, depopulate cities. And then the second thing for you is cut off all the trees, which they're already doing in the UK, and clearing off the trees and then putting these boxes as a pilot mode, just, testing the millimeter wave frequencies. And it really goes very well, and you have a very high network speed if the trees aren't there. If the trees are there, then you'll be having very weak signals because it will be getting interrupted by trees and people. So what they try to do is clear off the trees, and they try to actually innovate many more technologies for this purpose. And trees actually, when you expose them to microwaves, what they do immediately is they release a molecule, a component that creates a small whispery cloud above them. And many trees together do it all at once in a forest, as shown here. And what they do is they create a huge whispery cloud above their forest. And then when they create a huge whispery cloud, the forest becomes a little bit cool, and that's why even during long summers, most forests do not die out completely, as our garden would die out in long summer without any water. But the forest does not die out so quickly because of this mechanism. And what you'll be doing here is you'll be killing the trees. And when you kill the trees or make them sick, they can't make these molecules, and nor will you get those whispery clouds. Then your forest will die out very, very quickly. When your forests die out, a lot of carbon dioxide will be around the area. And when your carbon dioxide is too much, then you have a lot of pollution. Now because we have trees, we do not feel a pinch of pollution. The amount of carbon dioxide we're releasing in a day is overwhelming. And if trees aren't there, we're all going to die. Literally, we're all going to die because there's going to be over concentration of carbon dioxide and too much global warming and what-not problems, environmental problems and ecological problems and health hazards. So because we have many trees, we can't feel 90% of it, the truth that's going to happen. We're only seeing 10% because the poor trees are drinking all the toxins for us. And now if you remove these trees also, you'll really feel the pinch of CO2 destroying your lives. And the second thing about it is not only this health hazard, the excess carbon dioxide is taken in by water, because water also tries to help over here. I mean, help in the sense health, okay? So CO2 enters the water, and they are microorganisms in the water. Again, Dr. Barry Trower gave the names as a particular microorganism, something like coconutipples or something like that, and I didn't actually understand what he was saying, so I would just take it anonymous. So there are a few microbes inside water which produce a particular chemical that is the only substance known to assist in cloud formation. And this particular process is hindered because these microbes which I was talking about, they hate carbon dioxide, and they're the least tolerant to carbon dioxide, and they cannot suffer carbon dioxide. So if you put too much of carbon dioxide into the water, you let it go into the water, you're going to see that problem also. And thirdly, you will have more trees, you have too much carbon dioxide, you won't have rain, you won't have cool, and you'll be troubling the clouds because you're destroying the microorganisms which produce cloud formating molecules which assist in cloud formation. Then you'll be making a rainless, hot and dry weather in the world. So how are humans going to live if we implement 5G in every single place? We'll be destroying the weather. In a few more years from now, when all the trees die, the earth will be horrible. You see from a satellite that you're making, you can see the earth will be in a pitiable state, really pitiable state. Too much carbon dioxide in the world, maybe humans will create a sickening sick tree syndrome. Are we going to make a sick tree syndrome? We've already made it with a lot of pollution, forcing the trees to drink a lot of carbon dioxide, forcing them to die on the streets. That's one type of sick tree syndrome, but now we're going to radiate them with frequencies. What are we doing to the earth? We're just taking her for granted. And over here, Wi-Fi is a weapon frequency, so it is a known weapon frequency that was used in the Cold War according to Dr. Barry Trower. And the same thing is going to be combined with 5G. So 5G on its own is already dangerous, as we saw. If it's just on the lamppost, it is still dangerous. Now if you convert that radiation into Wi-Fi, it's going to be triple, 10 times, 100 times. My dear friends, you're going to see the worst of epidemics with 5G. It's going to be worse than GMOs. It's going to be worse than the plagues that we had in the 13th century, in the 14th century, and again in the 17th century. It's going to be worse than all of that. So be well prepared if you want to browse fast. So we're going to have a dangerous world forward. It's guaranteed. So now we will continue. So every organism has its own energy field. So we have different types of frequencies already existing in our body, and Wi-Fi frequencies actually, especially the 5G Wi-Fi, it interferes with these frequencies of our own body, and that is really dangerous for us. And basically you can experiment with various things. They all have energies, either magnetic energy or different types of frequencies, energy levels in our body, which are brought into disharmony by this 5G Wi-Fi. Already with the 4G Wi-Fi, we're really having a lot of palpitations and nervousness and headaches and all of these things, but with 5G it'll be triple, it'll be 10 times more. So now you can see the pulse frequencies. Dr. Barry Trower was involved in the Cold War. also, and various other wars where he was associated with the spy agencies, and he talked to the spies, and he found out that they were using pulse frequencies, and they were around a list of around 50 to 60 pulse frequencies, and around 30 to 40 pulse frequencies with 50 to 60 different diseases that they would cause. So basically, the pulse frequencies actually affect the hypothalamus. We have different biological clocks. For example, our cows, Durga, Surabhi, Vishnu, and Rohini, and Nandi, they all have a biological clock. Just an example, and just joking. So they all have a biological clock. And that means when it's food time, they all say ma and they come. So all of this is regulated by the hypothalamus. And even humans have this biological clock. We have the sleepy clock, and then we get up in the morning because we have had enough sleep and the sun rises, and all of these things are biological clocks. And they're all regulated by the hypothalamus. So basically these pulse frequencies, what they do is they change these clocks, and that interferes with almost every single activity, and you may not feel it's so serious, but it's so serious that it can even kill you. So the regulation of the biological clocks is one very important thing. Secondly, the hormones will be brought up and down by these pulse frequencies. These are actually used in the wars, and these same pulse frequencies and their same ranges are used in 5G. It's exact same. It's ditto same of 5G. And next you have these resonance, cyclotronic and circadian resonance frequencies, and even these are also spoiled by pulse frequencies. There are some people who are electronically sensitive, and women have 13 more circadian resonance frequencies than men, so they are more electronically sensitive, and so are children. So children really are very electronically sensitive, and some people might not be electronically sensitive, but they are internally more sensitive. They are children and women. So women sometimes might feel that there's something going on, but others around her won't understand. And separately, children, because of the size, they actually absorb a lot of more microwave frequencies, and that's the reason why they're really affected by them. And basically, if one ruins the reproductive system at a younger age, it becomes irreversible at an older age, and this is a really irreversible change, and it can really mean a lot to the future generations. And the next thing is electronically sensitive people will actually feel like dying when they get the 5G frequency. It'll be like intense headache, and they'll feel like committing suicide or homicide and just getting finished, because they just want to lie down and die, because they can't withstand the influence of 5G or 4G, because 5G combined with Wi-Fi is going to be a serious and dangerous weapon, especially when it comes to that millimeter wave operating frequency. But for now, when it's in 6 gigahertz frequency, it's going to be, it's going to be 20 times the influence that 4G is causing us now. So 20 times the headache, maybe migraines if you are having continuous exposure. Next we will see this. Basically, it's 750 factorial pulse frequencies. So it's multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and goes unlimited almost. N number of frequencies are all affecting us at one shot. So there's so many different types of frequencies, different types which will be affecting our different parts of our body, and that is really dangerous. And thirdly, deceiving fools in order to select a safety standard that cannot be challenged in court. Basically, 58% of the country has withdrawn from this, and they are actually going slow on it, though they are going to implement it. They have to implement it. Just like I explained in my fraudulent banking system video on how all the world, a big part of the world didn't want the central bank, but then slowly with terrorism and various other political missions, they accomplished, and the whole world was finally under the control of the central bank, as it is now, except a few countries, I think so. So here we would have 1 or 2. So here again, it's only 58%. It's more than 58% who are saying that they don't want 5G, but I know it's going to be dangerous. In the future, you will have 5G entering in those countries, by the rule of force. And once it enters the country, it's not going to exit. because you have to be paying the company, which I'll also explain later. So you cannot challenge them in the court. You cannot tell them that we are getting sick because of this 5G and we don't want the 5G, just remove it for us, just remove the 5G. No, they won't listen because they have obtained a contract from the government, and when they sit inside, they won't go out like a tick inside the earlobes, inside the ear canal. So they just won't stand up. I mean, you can knock off the 5G cables everywhere, but what if it's all in the sky, in the satellites? Then how are you going to track the satellite and bring the 5G down? You're not going to do that. You can't do it. So I'll explain about the satellites later. But for now, the fools of different countries will be forced to select a safety level, a safety standard. They'll get into trouble, they'll do mistakes, and they'll do all sort of rubbish, and they'll just sign it off. They'll say, okay, give me $100 billion and I'll sign the thing off for you. And then they get the license, and then you can't move them out. They stand right there, and then they'll put 5G everywhere. If you remove the small 5G, the lampposts, etc., they're going to put it through the satellites. But somehow they want control over the public, they want depopulation, they want easier handling of the crowds. This is the main purpose. And actually, every mammal is going to be affected by this. Mammals all have the same DNA, almost the same DNA. I don't mean the same DNA, so biology experts don't come thrashing at me. Just joking. So here, so basically, nurseries and kindergartens, etc., even small children's places where babies, babysittings, everything has 5G. It's going rampantly, unobserved, unrestrained, and unconstrained. It's not being stopped. There's no constraint, there's no end to this. It's going everywhere, in hotels, in cafes, in nurseries, and nurseries is the worst. Children will be exposed to such a high level of frequency, we can't imagine it. For now, the highest speed of these 4G networks is around 700 megahertz. And when we have 6 gigahertz, it's going to be around 6,000 megahertz. And 6,000 megahertz is way more, 10 times more than this, almost 10 times more than the 4G frequency. The highest level of the 5G frequency is 10 times more than the highest level of the 4G frequency. It's around 500 Mbps. Next, we're going to have GBps data. And GBps will be like, gigahertz per second. And that's a very big thing. Then we have terahertz and many more coming up in the future generations. It's going to be very unsafe for us. Thirdly, I explained to you that 78 gigahertz is the higher end frequency of 5G, and 90 gigahertz is the lower end frequency of the weapon that I talked about. No, the middle end, the mid band of the frequency of the directed energy weapon, the Gromer, which was pronounced over there. I'm not really sure again. Second thing is breast cancer, brain cancer, and depression, brain tumors, and many more cancerous things can happen, because even now, if you just check millimeter wave frequency dangers on Google, you'll find authentic sources saying that millimeter wave frequency are carcinogenic. They can cause cancer, they have the potential to cause cancer, and they basically penetrate skin. And when they penetrate skin, they can cause cancers everywhere. And they start cooking from inside out, which I'll also explain just now, some more time. So I was talking about the uterus, the reproductive system. 20% more radiation damage because of more absorption, and that is because of more moisture content, and 40% more damage because of various other things. And uterus does not have protein 53 and doesn't have the exact immune system that is necessary to battle radiations. And within 15 days of the uterus, cells can be programmed to develop cancer. So basically, microwaves can program certain cells to develop cancer. I should also explain how the the smartphone can create brain cancer slowly and support brain cancer if there's only one cell of cancer or just a few cells which are going to be exterminated, and you talk on the phone, they will not be exterminated. Whatever the body does, they will be protected. I should explain that mechanism also. And 47 point, here I'm going to explain one more case study, and that was from the WHO, the World Health Organization, and one more from the European Association for I think environmental awareness. So these two organizations had given a report that they did research with a machine which is using the Wi-Fi frequency. It's something called a diathermy machine, and that machine actually malfunctioned. Yeah.
The battery is low.
Okay, you can change it. So the battery got exhausted and we're starting again. Here, the uterus actually, within 15 days of the uterus, cells can be programmed to develop cancer, as we are talking about. And so we're talking about the research of the WHO, World Health Organization. And they actually did a research with a diathermy machine which uses the Wi-Fi frequency, which is also very dangerous, as we have seen. It malfunctioned and 47.7% of the hospital staff had miscarriages. So that's how powerful Wi-Fi frequency can be when it malfunctions. And its malfunctioning of a 4G Wi-Fi is equal to the normalcy of a 5G Wi-Fi. And over here, actually the European Association gave the thing as 48%, whereas the WHO gave it as 47.7%. And let's take it as 48% as a roundabout. So if you take 48% of miscarriages, that is a very powerful indication of how powerful and how dangerous 5G can be for a particular person. We can add at least 20% for children, because children can absorb more because of their size. We add 20% for children. So 48 plus 20 is 68%. So 68% of the people will have problems, and that is the reason why we said only 1 in 8 children will be born healthy. That's the very reason that we said only 1 in 8 children will be born healthy, because of this Wi-Fi that is going to be put into the public now. And the next thing is that all mammals will suffer from this. Cows and various other cattle and so many different types of beings. Not only mammals, the bird kingdom and so much more, the fish and the trees, the whole biosphere will suffer a lot. Next, I'd like to show you one photoelectric radiation theory. So now we're getting into the theory of light and electronics, mix them together and mix frequencies with it. So this will show the power of Wi-Fi frequencies and other frequencies, pulse frequencies. Ptolemy, who was a great Greek scientist, actually he demonstrated this photoelectric radiation theory in 64 BC. And he used a wooden wheel type of thing, and he drilled around 15 to 20 holes in it, and then he actually ran at very fast speeds, different types of speeds. And he actually and he put it in a light surface. So light was beaming behind it, and when he was rotating it at different speeds, you had different photoelectric radiations. And when you have those radiations and it was going into the eye, then people actually their behaviors were changing. Some people are becoming somewhat and others somewhat. So basically you'll have more crime, and you'll have more infertility rates, suicides and homicides and other types of crime in areas that are surrounding a smart meter or something like that. And the smart meter is also a very interesting topic which we shall cover completely in another video, how much ever I can and I know. But the smart meter is also very dangerous, because the trees around the smart meter will all die. Many cattle were found to be dead around the smart meter, according to Dr. Barry Trower. And smart meters, if hacked, all the information present in them can be leaked out very easily. So that's something that also has to be seen very well. And the next thing is satellites are going to be put into the earth. That's around 250,000 satellites. That's around 2.5 lakh satellites. So that, you cannot stop 5G. Even if a country wants to stop 5G, they release these satellites, and from the top, and they have these solar powered drones also. So they'll be in the height and they'll be solar powered, so they won't crash as a battery powered drone. They'll be hovering up and up and up, and they'll be operating the Wi-Fi frequency, and still giving connection to mobiles, etc. So you'll still have 5G, whether you want it or not. It's going to be there in your country. So people who are doing really taking a very big decision. And the second thing is that actually we are inducing chemical addiction in children. If we give a child a phone, the child over a period of time gets chemically addicted to the mobile. And mobiles can be more addictive than even marijuana, wine, alcohol, and even cigarettes. The reason why is it actually chemically addicts your brain. The memory card got full, so we have repeat it and come again. I think this explanation is unusual in other videos. So here, the brain is actually chemically addicted to a smartphone because you keep having these Facebook notifications and mail notifications and all these types of notifications that keep popping up, and then you feel like seeing them, and that releases dopamine, just like cigarettes and alcohol does. So now, it's so dangerous. Smartphone is such a dangerous thing, and that's why many countries have started, making rehabilitating camps. They have these many of them rehabilitation camps all over the country, and they are trying to help their citizens get fine from this addiction. So basically, that's the problem. That's a big problem with smartphones. Some people are trying to even have rehabilitation camps for this. That's how dangerous the smartphone addiction is, because it's so powerful and your brain gets chemically addicted with it, just like you have it with the marijuana, etc., drugs and alcohol and cigarettes. So that's why it's very important to know that smartphones are very dangerous. And according to the Scientific American Mind, the Journal of the Scientific American Mind, where a scientist, a psychiatrist, actually he put two cases. One was a small girl whose, a teenage girl whose phone was snatched away by her parents. She said, "If you touch my phone, I'm going to kill you both in your sleep." And another girl punched her mother in the face when the mother just took the phone away from her. So it's like giving your children alcohol and all sorts of drugs, etc., and letting them be with it for many years, and then suddenly when the TV rings the bell and says it's bad for your children, you come to snatch it away from them. How are they going to leave it? They'll speak like it. They are addicted people, so you can't treat them as normal people. So this is the reason why one should see these addictions as very dangerous and very horrible, and we should be very, very careful while dealing with people like this. Thirdly, we're going to see an alternative to this. Use fiber optic cable. I shall explain more about this fiber optic cable idea. So microwave or radio wave. Actually, in August 1932, they had seen these many different types of illnesses that can happen with microwave or radio wave frequencies. Severe tiredness, fatigue, fitful sleep. You'll be getting up, because if the Wi-Fi is on, then you can't get good sleep, and this fitful sleep daily would turn to insomnia in the future. And then you would have intolerability and high susceptibility to infection, because there was a theory that there is a theory, and it is proven that microbes such as the viruses and bacteria, they survive in they actually thrive in microwave environments. The reason why is they feel they are in danger and they start reacting to it, and they actually multiply very fast because they understand that there's danger, and they multiply very fast, and that keeps their clan alive, and they slowly get adapted and they thrive, in fact, because it's like a person getting hardened by time is really, really strong. A person who's hardened by time and by experience is really strong and good. So in the same way, microbes who are hardened by microwaves are really strong and they multiply. So basically, the US Medical Institute, the NMRI, 2,300 research articles have been listing an excess of 120 ailments, impairments attributed to Wi-Fi and radio wave frequencies. So basically 2,300 articles of the NMRI were saying the same thing. And the same thing means 120 impairments and diseases caused by the Wi-Fi frequencies and the radio wave and microwave frequencies. So now we can see that there was one particular document, a secret document that is being quoted by Dr. Barry Trower in the video. If the more advanced nations of the West are strict in enforcement of stringent exposure standards, there could be unfavorable effects on industrial output and military functions. So basically, it means that if the West imposes very stringent and very difficult rules for these big megalomaniacs to come and spread over their small machines of millimeter wave frequencies, if they put such stringent exposure standards, then it will be very difficult for the industry to get money and the military to function well. This is what the big clever businessmen had planned. So basically, these megalomaniacs want to destroy the world, so they are bent upon getting lesser stringent rules, and they want an easy way, so they can just release some 200 gigahertz per, they can release 200 Gbps or any kind of speed. And for this, even now, currently, the current news is that in the USA, the US 5G operators and the other countries' 5G operators have asked their own rulers, their own governments, that they should be given, ease of access, and the rules regarding 5G exposure should be minimized so that they can just keep releasing all types of frequencies, and they'll be the first. So actually what they show to you is the country will advance if they use 5G technology. So they show one type of battle of China, USA and all the countries fighting together to see who's going to be the first in 5G. And actually who's going to fall into the pit first is the battle. And they're making a battle scenario to make you feel that the whole world is for it and why don't you get in? And then when you try getting it because you're supporting your nation, yes, India should be the first to get 5G. India should be developed, or at least should get 5G in the next 2 years. So when you are thinking this way, it's actually a rat battle, a rat race organized by the big people and the big brothers, and they want you to finally get 5G, whether it's a battle or whatever you think. So here, this is the meaning of the sentence I just read out now. Abhigya, can you show this? So here we have 2.5 lakh satellites. That's around 250,000 satellites are flying around the Earth. They will be flying around the Earth in around 2020 to 2030. Just a second.
The battery got exhausted.
So we continue. The safety standard line. So now they have something called the FCC safety standard. So the World Regulation Company for these Wi-Fi etc. is the FCC, and they set up these safety regulations. It's based on heat. So how can you base a microwave safety regulation on heat? I should explain the problems according to Barry Trower. Schwann, as scientist, the full name is not explained in the video, actually made a safety standard that is used even today. And the only safety rule is 1 kg of body mass should be heated up in 6 minutes by 1 degree, and that is dangerous. In case this does not happen, then the person is immune to all types of Wi-Fi for a lifespan. So this is the rule. So let me reiterate. So 1 kg of your body mass should be heated up by 1 degree in 6 minutes. So if this happens, Wi-Fi frequency is bad for you. If this does not happen, you can use it for your whole life without any interruption. So the clever bit in this rule is that actually microwaves cook from inside out. So you actually do not feel hot in these 6 minutes because you don't have heat sensors inside. You have them on the outside. So you don't feel hot with Wi-Fi. So that's why you won't feel the heat inside. Heat is not one of the symptoms of Wi-Fi. And that's why you'll be never feeling this, and you'll think it's always good for you, and you'll be using lots of Wi-Fi data, and it'll be dangerous for you. So basically this safety standard rule does not work. This heat safety standard rule is just a big lie, and they're imposing it. So 1 degree heating up in 6 minutes is just a fake lie. Because one more thing we're going to see is it's not safe, it's only rubbish, because we have sensors inside, outside on the skin Outside we have sensors, not inside. So you won't feel hot in your brain from inside because you don't have sensors over there. Secondly, to protect industrial profit and military function and to avoid litigation from military employees, it was suggested that governments in the West choose a safety level compatible to the military industrial output. The governments that adopted the thermal level denied and still to this day deny any adverse effect from subthermal levels. So here an emphasis has been made on to avoid litigation and for industrial output. So what the company wants is to avoid the headache of litigation and still be successful in killing everybody and depopulating everybody. So the military employees should not come and say, why are you putting this much high frequency in our offices, because we are not able to sustain in this frequency and we will suffer from a lot of diseases. So why have you done it? So you can't stand up against the government, nor can industry people stand up against the industries, nor can the whole nation stand up against any data provider who's using 5G to kill people. Second thing is that there's another emphasis made on thermal levels and subthermal levels. Thermal levels is what I explained to you now, 1 kg, 1 degree in 6 minutes. Heat it up. So we have the subthermal level that is around 0.6 degrees. So again we get a difference between ionizing and non-ionizing rays. So ionizing rays are those of gamma rays, etc., and X-rays. Non-ionizing rays are those of microwaves. So microwaves basically, according to the modern so-called people, are safe and straightforward. But here we would see it. 0.6 of a degree. They say that 1 degree. We'll convert the whole equation to 0.6 of a degree. That's around half a degree. So 1 degree heating up in 6 minutes. 1 kg body mass heating 0.6 of a degree in 6 minutes is not deemed safe. It's half. It's almost exactly half, but it is not safe. The reason why is when it becomes 0.6. The cells start actually building a scaffold around the cells to protect themselves from microwave radiation damage. So they basically start the operation. The whole damage happens when it heats up to 1 degree. So when it heats up to only 0.6 degrees, you have this change, scaffolding. Now if they cancer cells, there will be some 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe 10 or 20, 100 cancer cells which do not make a very big difference, and they will also be scaffolded and protected, and throughout the lifespan those cells will not be able to be killed because they are scaffolded. They won't be able to be killed. That's the problem with carcinogenic millimeter wave frequencies and even normal frequencies. Any normal Wi-Fi frequency has the same problem. These are called heat shock proteins. So basically heat shock proteins start building a scaffold around moment they know there's some danger. That includes all cells, including cancer cells. So you do get cancer, and that's the reason why cancer has been explained. And especially when you hold the phone towards your ears, the radiation actually immediately heats up to 0.6 after some time, not immediately, 0.6 degrees, and then this process starts of this heat shock protein scaffolding, and then you get cancer. So sorry, the battery got
Low
exhausted.
again.
And I'll continue. So this is what is going on with these cancerous and carcinogenic millimeter wave frequencies and even normal mid-band 5G frequencies. And that's why we have to raise an alarming call: stop genocide. We have to stop genocide worldwide. So basically, you have to start using fiber optic cables so that we minimize the Wi-Fi frequency and use it very minimally. Because even though you use fiber optic cables, the radiation from the connection with the laptop is still dangerous. So use it minimally. This reduces the wireless problem, but still is a little bit dangerous. So the problem is use it very less. The solution is use it very less and use a fiber optic cable. If you use continually Wi-Fi frequencies, it's dangerous. And additionally, I would also advise buying a machine that will detect Wi-Fi frequencies so that you can walk around searching for Wi-Fi frequencies, and if you find any Wi-Fi frequency, then you don't stay there. If you want to live a very Wi-Fi free life. So you can go to any city and check out, or any village and check out wherever you want to live, and see whether there is any Wi-Fi operator over there. So these are the particular diseases you will be having if you continue usage of Wi-Fi. Cancer, suicides, infertility, choking, pollution, drought, heat, no rain, weather changes, abnormal weather changes, and your lifespan will be around 20 years. 99.99% of people will be infertile, cancer is public, and there will be no more children, and the 1/100th of the world will be left, which will be constantly decreasing. And this is not going to happen. We are not going to let 5G enter India. We are not going to happen. So let's fight against this dangerous movement that's going on. It's not development. We're going to kill each other with Wi-Fi frequencies. We're going to destroy each other. There are going to be suicides, homicidal problems. People will be jumping around at each other and beating each other, committing murders, suicides, and whatnot, just because of frequencies. You won't even have any intention to do anything, but you will do it because of these frequencies. Ptolemy had described that, as I showed in the second chart, of those, that wheel with 15 holes and photoelectric radiation theory. So that's what is going to happen. So basically, we cannot escape this, and the only thing we can do is maybe do some invention which can, block the 5G rays. And the second thing we can do is use fiber optic cables and revolt against the government for 5G. These are some things we can do, and spread the awareness. Share all the 5G videos that you have, and share every single video and help the world know the truth about 5G, etc. And we need to wake up about this. We need to wake up. Are we going to finally destroy life? This is one big question that I request you all to think about again. Just because you want to browse fast, are you prepared to destroy the whole world? Are you prepared? And secondly, one more thing is, it's a wake-up call for every single person, every single Indian, every single person in the world. It's a wake-up call. Many experts like Dr. Barry Trower have talked about this, and if we don't wake up now, we'll wake up to see a dead world with no life. Are we all prepared to do that? That's one question I would like to end the video with. So thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Ramachandra.
No, never.
And also these 3 charts have been prepared for now, and I shall also try making a second part with some of my own research. I should try it, and we'll try to post it quickly. So thank you.